books. So let me start by getting just a little bit of information about you, what kind of books you like to read, and we can go from there, okay? Okay, so what are your favorite genres? I love poetry. Okay, yes, poetry. Romance, who doesn't love a good romance novel? Adventure, okay, got it. Nonfiction, okay. I feel like that's pretty unique. Most people stay away from nonfiction. I'm one of those people. I'm really not the biggest nonfiction reader, but I have a few of them that are so good. They'll have you like gripping the edge of your seat. Yeah, okay, cool. I'll give you some recommendations. We can go through. I'll probably give like about 2 per genre, and then at the end you can tell me which ones you like, which ones you don't like, and go from there. We do have a checkout policy, so you can check out a book from us. We do take like a $5 flat fee just to make sure you don't, steal it. But yeah, you can check out a book for like a week. Yeah, it's a new program that we're implementing, but it's pretty cool. So if you are interested in that at the end, we can set that up for you, or you can just buy the books, of course, because we have that option as well. Okay, so let me go in the back, grab some stuff, and we can get to it. Okay, do you want a water or anything? Okay, no, you're good. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I have a whole bunch of stuff. I kind of went crazy, but, can you blame me? Okay, we'll go one by one. Okay, what genre would you like to start with? Adventure. Okay, cool. So I have these 2 books right here. Again, adventure isn't one of my personal favorite genres, but I found some really good ones. So we'll start with this. I'm sure you've probably heard of Stephen King. I mean, who hasn't? You might have read this. Pet Sematary. No? Okay, perfect. They actually did make this into a movie about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. I don't know. COVID warped my entire time present, so but anyway, they did make a movie. It wasn't that good. Don't bother seeing it. Read the book. The book is better. So this is about a little family that moves into a brand new house, and they're in this new neighborhood, and they discover that there's a pet cemetery in their backyard, and a bunch of crazy things starts happening. So I'll read you the back of each book. Does that sound good? Okay. So it says, when Dr. Lewis Creed takes a new job and moves his family to the idyllic and rural town of Ludlow, Maine, this new beginning seems too good to be true. Yet despite Ludlow's tranquility, there's an undercurrent of danger that exists here. Those trucks on the road outside the Creed's beautiful home travel by just a little too quickly. For one thing, as is evidenced by the makeshift pet cemetery out back in the nearby woods. Then there are warnings to Lewis, both real and from the depths of his nightmares, that he should not venture beyond the borders of this little graveyard. A blood-chilling truth is hidden there, one more terrifying than death itself, and hideously more powerful. An ominous fate befalls anyone who dares temper with this forbidden place, as Lewis is about to discover himself. Sorry, I was doing so good, but I stuttered a bit there. So yeah, basically it's about this guy. There's this big forest in his backyard, and there's a pet cemetery, and he goes on an adventure kind of has to be good, right? So yeah, this is a dystopian style novel, which is one of my personal favorites. So it's set in like the future, and it's basically about how the world in this time, they've eradicated disease, they've eradicated death, everyone is basically immortal, except for these things called scythes, and they are the only ones that are allowed to kill people and end life to control the population. So I'll read the back, but that's pretty much what the back says. So, a world with no hunger, no disease, no war, no misery. Humanity has conquered all of those things and has even conquered death. Now scythes are the only ones who can end life, and they are commanded to do so in order to keep the size of the population under control. Citra and Rowan are chosen to apprentice a scythe, a role that neither wants. These teens must master the art of taking life, knowing that the consequence of failure could mean losing their own. They learn living in a perfect world comes with a heavy price. It's a Prince honor book, and it's the debut of the series. So this actually is a series. If you're interested in that, Pet Cemetery is just like a one and done book, but if you're trying to start something long term, this is a great option. So very, very good. You've heard of it? Okay, cool. So we will put that right there and move on to the next genre. Which would you like? Poetry. Okay, this is probably the one that I am the most passionate about. I write a lot of poetry. So let me grab what I've got for you. I decided to go 2 different routes just because I'm not really sure what kind of poetry you like, but hopefully at least one of these is interesting to you. The first one is called Aphrodite Made Me Do It, and it's by Trista Mateer. She's a smaller poet that I discovered recently, and I really love her. If you're interested in like women's empowerment and poems about breakups, love, romance, your typical standard type of poetry, this is a great option. There's a bunch of poems as well as some artwork inside you can kind of see. So it is really, really good. I'll actually read you an excerpt. I can read you one of the poems. Let me see which one. Okay. I haven't learned how to heal. I've learned how to be alone. They are not the same thing anymore. But romance never gets to be the biggest part of my story ever again. So, on the back it says, in this feminist retelling, she uses the mythology of the goddess alongside poetry and art to weave a common thread through the past and the present. If you let her, by the end of this book, Aphrodite will make you believe in the possibility of your own healing. So, if you're into that, this is a really good one, really beautiful book. Okay, and then on kind of a completely different note, I have Egghead. I think this is one of my favorite books that I feel like no one ever talks about, but it's by Bo Burnham. He's gaining a lot of traction lately because he just came out with that Netflix special, Inside. Yeah, this is actually my personal copy, but it is just a poetry book, but it's more comedic, so the poems are funny, entertaining. Bo Burnham is a comedian after all. So I'll read you the back and then I can read you one of the poems. Bo Burnham was a precocious teenager living in his parents' attic when he started posting material on YouTube. 100 million people viewed those videos, turning Bo not for oblivion as I had before, not to escape boredom, not to be unconscious, but because I wanted to dream. Maybe if I could be unconscious, if I could dream, I could live for a few hours in a world where she and I could be together. She dreamed of me. I wanted to dream of her. She stared back at me, her expression full of wonder. I had to look away. I could not dream of her. She should not dream of me. So yeah, it's just the classic vampire Edward Bella Jacob story, but it's in his perspective, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, I actually don't remember Twilight being this big, but who knows? I read it so long ago, but yes. And again, this is one that, will launch you into a series. So if you're looking for that, or if you want some fantasies type elements with the vampires, the werewolves, this is a good pick. On the flip side, this next one is not a series, and it's more realistic romance. There's no vampires, werewolves, wizards, or anything. I'm actually reading this one right now. I'm in the middle of it. This one kind of blew up on TikTok, so I recently gave it a shot, and I'm liking it so far. It Ends with Us by Colleen Hoover. She writes a whole bunch of romance novels. Are you familiar? Okay, yeah. So this one is about this girl Lily, and it's basically kind of like a love triangle type story, similar to the Twilight series. What romance novel isn't a love triangle, I feel like, but it's a little bit unique. So I'll read the back. It says, Lily hasn't always had it easy, but that's never stopped her from working hard for the life she wants. She's come a long way from the small town in Maine where she grew up. She graduated from college, moved to Boston, and started her own business. So when she fills a spark with a gorgeous neurosurgeon named Ryle Kincaid, everything in Lily's life suddenly seems almost too good to be true. Ryle is assertive, stubborn, maybe even a little arrogant, but he's also sensitive, brilliant, and has a total soft spot for Lily. But Ryle's complete aversion to relationships is disturbing. As questions about our new relationship overwhelm her, so do thoughts of Atlas Corrigan, her first love, and a link to the past that she left behind. He was her kindred spirit, her protector. When Atlas suddenly reappears, everything Lily has built with Ryle is threatened. With this bold and deeply personal novel, Colleen Hoover delivers a heart-wrenching story that breaks exciting new grounds for her as a writer. It Ends with Us is an unforgettable tale of love that comes at the ultimate price. So yeah, that basically kind of sums it up, but it's about this girl Lily, and she gets in a relationship with this neurosurgeon who's like literally basically perfect. But then her ex that she saved from homelessness reappears, and it's kind of just her dealing with that. So it's really interesting. I think it's a little bit more of like a Wattpad-y kind of cheesy story in the way that it's written and the way that the characters are. I mean, her name is Lily Blossom Bloom, and she is a florist, so like how obvious can you get? But I think it teaches really good lessons about love, so, and it doesn't end the way you think it will. So yeah, this is an option. Again, this is not a series. I believe they are making this one into a movie, I think. Don't hold me on that, but yeah, so those are the two romance books that I picked. How are we feeling? Yeah. Okay, last section, of course, nonfiction. So the first one I picked out is my personal copy, so that's why it's a little bit dirty and beaten up. I've read this, I think, 4 times, but of course, if you check it out or buy it, it will not be as dirty. But this one is Columbine by Dave Cullen. You're probably familiar with the tragic Columbine shooting that took place in 2001, but this is basically just a whole book kind of recapping what happened, the news afterwards, and how it kind of changed the world in a way. Very gripping and interesting read. So I'll read the back. On April 20th, 1999, 2 boys went into their high school with bombs and guns. Their goal was to leave a lasting impression on the world. The horror that they inflicted left an indelible stamp on the American psyche. Now, in this definitive count, Dave Cullen presents a is just a really interesting psychological look into the Columbine shooting. So if you're kind of into the sort of true crime and psychological, this is a really good one. And then the second one is my favorite of the two nonfictions. Again, really underrated. This story is crazy. So this is a sucky love story by Brittany Louise Taylor. She's actually a YouTuber, and she went through a very traumatizing time and wrote a book about it. It's not like your typical YouTuber books. So let me read the back. What if falling in love meant almost losing everything? Where does a moderately popular internet star who never leaves her house look for potential suitors? Online. Tinder, Bumble, Match.com, OkCupid. I tried them all. My 31-year-old self clicked and swiped her little heart out, leading to more dates than I could count, and more disappointment than I was prepared for. Maybe you can relate. Maybe you know all too well the perils of modern dating. But let's say eventually you meet someone. You think to yourself, wow, they're perfect. Take me off the market, put a ring on it, knock me up, the whole enchilada, because they are the one. Let's also say that they feel the same way about you. Your life starts to make sense. All the pain, heartbreak, and frustration from past failed relationships was worth it. Slow clap. That's how I felt about Milos. He was from Europe, a doctor, wealthy, athletic. He had an accent and a dog. Milos was textbook marriage material. For him, it was love at first sight, but for me, it was anxiety on every date. Something was telling me to run, but for 2 years, the only running I did was straight into his arms. If only I wouldn't have listened. This isn't a love story. It's my story of survival. So that doesn't really tell you that much, but I'll give you a little bit more tea. So it's about Brittany, and this is a true story. She found this guy named Milos. They started dating, whatever. She ended up getting pregnant very quickly, getting engaged very quickly. Everything seems fine. He said he was a millionaire doctor, had all this money. They're looking to buy these $1 million houses, yada yada yada. Come to find out, he is a total scam artist, a liar. He was never a doctor. He might have mafia ties. He fakes cancer. So much crazy stuff goes down. I read this in one night, one sitting, like within 6 hours, because when you start reading this, you cannot stop. It is so crazy. And the fact that it's a totally true story is even crazier. So this one is one that I highly recommend if you want a wild ride. So that is all of the books that I have to show you, unless there's something else you're curious about or looking for. Okay, perfect. So which ones are you liking? Okay, good choice. Okay, perfect. Are you wanting to pay for those directly or check those out? Whatever works for you. Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, so here are those books. Just go ahead and take them over to the cashier. Yeah, see, she's over there, she's waving. Got it. She will help you check out. Just let her know which option you're gonna do, and she can take everything from here. So, thank you so much. Hope to see you back soon. Enjoy, yeah.